Hello, this is Jack Jackson. I want to continue my talk about some general things and talk a little bit about college learning versus high school, particularly as they relate to mathematics classes. And the first thing you must realize is that college has some significant differences from high school. Collegiate life grants much more freedom for the individuals to prioritize and budget their time. However, it also demands a much higher academic regimen from the student. Much more responsibility is placed on the student to take advantage of the various learning resources available and to spend the time necessary to master material. In college mathematics classes, much more responsibility is placed on the student to take charge of their own learning. This is true not only for mathematics classes, I'm going to focus on that, but it's true for other classes as well. In a typical college class, most of the learning is designed to be done outside of class time. In the online class, there is no class time, so 100% of the learning must be accomplished by the individual student without the benefit of any time in class with an instructor or classmates. While this is definitely not the ideal learning situation, there are several resources available to help you succeed. It's very important to consider the suggestions that I will have in this series of things in this playlist. Since we cover mathematics at a much faster pace than we do in high school, so colleges go at a much faster pace. For example, although college algebra covers roughly the same material as a good high school algebra 2 course, we cover it in one semester instead of two, and we meet only 150 minutes per week for 15 weeks instead of 5 hours weekly for 36 weeks, which was what you would typically do in many high schools. This results in the college course going about 4 times as fast as the same course taught in high school. In other words, we have about 1/4 of the class time to do the same material. So college algebra course presumes that you've already mastered material covered in beginning and intermediate algebra, and it covers new material. And this is even more increased in subsequent classes such as the calculus sequence. Each successive course requires more and more background material to be mastered before the class begins, and the pace is increased with each successive course. Of course, if you're in a condensed semester such as summer school, the number of lecture hours has not changed. However, you must incorporate the same amount of study time jammed into far fewer days. Regardless, college classes are designed for the student to work on the course at least 2 hours outside of class for every hour in class. A typical on campus class, so called 3 hour class, meets roughly 3 hours per week. I really wish they hadn't used that terminology because it gives a very poor indication of the amount of time that needs to be spent. It should probably be called something like a 9 hour or more class because this is more reflective of the amount of work that is typically needed from the instructor and the student to prepare for the class. For example, a typical 3 credit hour class traditionally meets almost 3 hours a week. Really, it's more like 2.5. And students should be spending a total of 9 hours per week on the class. That's 2.5 inside of class and 6.5 outside of class. Learning in an environment that is primarily or exclusively online presents even further challenges. Online learners must be self motivated, and they require even more discipline and a higher work ethic, and even more independent thinking. Online learners must take advantage of every resource available to them to succeed, such as the resources that I provide in this YouTube channel. In any college class, more burden is placed upon the learner to control their own learning. Therefore, in any semester, it's imperative that you learn how to study effectively. So we're going to continue talking about some ideas that may actually help you do that as we go through the rest of these videos.